Today, we're talking about lenses, and where are the lenses? I'll wait. Today we did a couple tests and we used lenses from a 16mm to a 300mm. Now a 16mm is something you could use on a drone, some wide shots, maybe an establishing shot, something to show the entire frame. When you get into telephoto lenses, that's more for wildlife photography, sports photography, or just to get really close on a subject. There's a variety of lenses that can cause lens distortion, and this is affected by the distance of your subject from your camera. Cool, so let's get started with the lens test. Our first lens was a 24mm. You can see Terry on screen. He looks a little distorted in a way because the lens is not that far from him, but I would typically use a 24mm for landscape shots if I threw a camera on a Ronin. So next up is the 35mm. I'm gonna put the 24mm back up so we can compare the two. And on the 24mm, you see that his face is kind of rounded, almost like a fisheye, and you can see both colors of our background. Now if I put the 35mm up, we got rid of some of that fisheye look, but we can still see some good colors from our background, so you still get that separation we're looking for. Next up is our 50mm, and this is my personal favorite and what I typically use on interviews. Anywhere from 50 to 85mm is gonna give your audience the most natural look of what your subject really looks like. So there would be no distortion, they wouldn't have a fisheye look, it's what you would see in real life. And our last Rokinon lens we used was an 85mm, and this really flattened Terry a bit compared to the 50mm, and less of our background is being showed, and it's becoming more of a paint color rather than seeing the blue and the orange. So our next lens we used was a 75 to 300mm. We used 100, 200, and 300mm. So we stepped back, we set our grid, and got the same shot, but you can see our subject's getting a little bit wider and the background is becoming one solid color rather than seeing the blue and the orange. And this lens is a little bit different because all these Rokinon lenses are prime lenses. They're prime cinema lenses, so you can't zoom in and they have a low f-stop. This is a 4.0 and these are 1.4, so it's gonna be a little bit darker and we had to compensate for that during our test. I hope this gave you a better understanding about lenses and how they work. If you have any questions or if you think I missed anything, leave it in the comments and we'll be sure to tell you. We'll tell you. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, go to wecraftcreative.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and our next video will tell you about how lenses can actually help you tell your story. We'll see you next time.